Common Agricultural Policy, or the CAP, is a policy that sets the agenda for EU agriculture by providing subsidies to farmers, among other things, to ensure that all citizens have sufficient and good quality food. This policy has the following 9 specific objectives: to ensure a fair income to farmers, to increase competitiveness, to rebalance the power in the food chain, climate change action, environmental care, to preserve landscapes and biodiversity, to support generational renewal, vibrant rural areas, to protect food and health quality. Sounds great, doesn't it? But actually, the Common Agricultural Policy is not able to meet its own objectives. CAP subsidies are currently calculated according to the size of the farm, not according to production or production methods. This means that the bigger a farm is, the more money it receives, which creates a vicious circle. The strategy of some farms is therefore to grow bigger and bigger, often to the detriment of small and medium farmers. This policy creates other problems such as land concentration and land grabbing. In addition, it helps large companies root themselves in production and make speculative investments, encourages the relocation of production or concentrates it in specific areas, drives the depopulation of rural areas, and makes it even more difficult for young people to set up in agriculture and have access to land. Young farmers face a lot of challenges, such as the price of land, but also the arduous administrative procedures they have to comply with if they want to receive CAP aid. And this can all be very discouraging. The CAP should help young people and new entrants. Today, only 2% of CAP beneficiaries receive nearly 30% of subsidies, while nearly 40% of farmers receive no money at all because their farms are too small to count. Lobby groups and big businesses take advantage of the current system and use their power to prevent real change. To solve this problem, subsidies should not be calculated according to the farm size. They should be redistributed fairly to benefit more farmers, and some control and regulation mechanisms should be put in place. For example, capping subsidies is a possible effective solution. This would mean defining a maximum amount that farmers can receive, because at present this maximum limit does not exist. So big companies keep expanding to receive more and more money. One of the original objectives of the CAP was to regulate the market. This meant that if Europe was overproducing, the EU would buy the surplus from farmers to prevent the market from collapsing. If, on the other hand, Europe was facing underproduction, the EU would sell back the surplus to prevent prices from rising. This allowed producers to receive guaranteed prices and consumers to have access to food at reasonable prices. This kind of mechanism, called market regulation, disappeared over the course of many CAP reforms, and the CAP no longer includes the tools needed to ensure fair and stable prices for farmers. This lack of market regulation impacts European farmers. Since prices vary according to supply, demand, and other factors, their income is lower and more unstable. They become dependent on CAP subsidies, and the price they are paid for what they produce is not enough. Moreover, farmers cannot plan anything, and they do not have the possibility to invest in more sustainable models. The lack of effective market regulation mechanisms also has global consequences. For example, in cases of overproduction, the EU sold surpluses to less developed countries at prices that were lower than prices of local farmers. The most striking example is the case of milk, which was processed and stored into powdered milk, exported to Senegal, and then resold at prices that were 30% lower than the price of Senegalese milk. This practice, known as dumping, still happens today and endangers producers in Europe and in the countries to which the produce is exported. To achieve its objectives, the CAP must therefore include market regulations and the redistribution of subsidies in a fairer and more equitable way. Selling food at really low prices does not only cost farmers in monetary terms. It is a chain reaction that affects us all. The only reason large industrial actors such as supermarkets and large-scale production systems are able to sell products at such low prices, attracting consumers while still making big profits, is because the price of this is paid by others. They put pressure on the farmers they buy from by exploiting them, underpaying them, and making them work in deplorable conditions, all in the name of profit. Moreover, the consumer pays with their health, as these industrial systems focus on the quantity, not the quality, of the food produced, and therefore use pesticides and chemicals that have serious effects on our bodies. All of this also impacts animal welfare, the planet, and biodiversity. This is why fair prices and farm workers' rights go hand in hand. Farmers' rights are outlined in the UN Declaration of the Rights of Peasants and Other People Working in Rural Areas, the UNDROP, and farms or organisations that do not respect these rights should not receive public subsidies from the CAP. Small-scale producers must be placed at the heart of the CAP because they will help address the main challenges of today: climate change, loss of biodiversity, depopulation of rural areas, all while ensuring healthy, fresh and local food. What we need is a real change in the overall system to make it more sustainable. Small farmers are already using these sustainable systems based on agroecology, which are not only good for the planet, but also bring social benefits. The CAP reform and national strategic plans must keep in mind that food is not a commodity, but a right.